Those of you that are jumping in right now, thanks for joining us today. We're going to take a couple more minutes just until we get to the top of the hour, and then we can kick things off. All right, we are at 2 o'clock on the dot here, so we're going to get things started. Appreciate you guys all jumping in and tuning into our webinar today. Today, we're going to talk about really stormwater management and some of the HOBO products that kind of fall in line with this application. So for those of you that don't know us, we make the HOBO data loggers. It's a pretty infamous name in the data logging industry. We're actually based right out of Bourne, Massachusetts, right on Cape Cod, and it's actually where we do all of our or most of our manufacturing and assembly right here in the U.S. Our focus has always been around data loggers and really providing accurate and reliable solutions for a wide variety of applications and monitoring and parameters. One of the exciting things that's happened to us over the last year, right around this time, we were acquired by a company called Lightcore Environmental. Lightcore has also been in the industry a long time. They're a leader in greenhouse gas monitoring. So a lot of products that we carry tie into with to what they do as well. And so there's a lot of great things happening for us to provide solutions for the future, really for this industry in the data logging space. Together, we have over 50 years of experience in environmental monitoring, and both of us we're a world leader in data loggers. So we have a whole global network of distributors. We're beyond just the U.S. As I mentioned, we do some of our own manufacturing and assembly right here, so we are ISO certified. And HOBO Data Loggers was founded in 1981. Before we get started, just a little bit about some details on the webinar. This webinar is going to run for around 45 minutes. My slide deck should take about 40, and then I hope to save about 5 minutes at the end to answer some questions. I also have my colleague Brett Stebbins on the line here with me today. So if you have any questions during the presentation, please write in your control panel. There's a question section. Put it in there, and Brett will try to answer you. If not, he will queue it up for me to answer at the end of this presentation. The webinar is also being recorded. So following this webinar presentation, I think a day or two, you'll get a follow-up email with this recording if you want to go back and listen into anything you missed. A little about myself. My name's Andrew Thompson. I'm a sales manager with Onset. I've been with HOBO Data Loggers now for 5 years. A majority of that time has been spent in the Water Resources Management Division. And really, over that time, we've luckily had a ton of new products that fit into these applications. And so I've been able to kind of introduce some of this new technology, and we cover a wide variety of applications. So it keeps things interesting and has been a great experience here at HOBO Data Loggers. For today's agenda, we're going to talk a little bit about really, we're going to start off by stormwater management and how our HOBO data loggers apply to this application. And then we'll really just start to dive into those data loggers specifically, how they can be utilized for this type of application. We'll look at our standalone optical and Bluetooth solutions for water level and climate, which is more or less what comes up for this application. And then we'll look at our cloud-based solutions. The way of the world, we're starting to do things more real time so that we can manage more sites efficiently. And so we'll look at some of our cloud-based solutions along with a niche product that we have to really scale your sites and do multi-point measurements affordably. And that's our HOBOnet wireless sensor network. So we'll touch on that. And then we'll dive into, I have a few slides actually on our Lightcore Cloud software platform, which is, really keeping you informed at all times. So this image is something I like to start off with. Typically, it gives you a really, holistic view of what HOBO does and, the areas that we cover, which, as you see the image, we cover many areas and really we're a leader in data logging and we do it in so many different applications. You can see here, we do a lot in the indoor space, whether it's air quality monitoring or energy efficiency monitoring, occupancy in office buildings. There's a number of data logging solutions on the indoor space, and then we do things in the outdoor side where you're doing weather or climate, a lot of agriculture-based parameters. And then today, what we're mainly focused on, which is our water resources side, we do a whole lot in that industry as well, whether it's water quantity or water quality, and those applications span various, stream temperature, lake management, dam safety, and then what we'll talk about today, which is more stormwater management. One of the first questions I ask customers or talk to customers about is really how they want to collect their data. And that will lead me to what style of data logger they're going to need for their site. We really offer two different solutions. We offer standalone data loggers, and then we offer web-based remote solutions. And our standalone data loggers are more of our devices that are meant for long-term monitoring, but you would go out, drop them in place, and then you'd come back at, whatever interval of time, maybe it's a month or a quarter, and collect that data, whether it's for research purposes or compliance and reporting. So those standalone data loggers are meant to be left out there long-term and collect data over time. The two different options we have for standalone is our optical communication and our Bluetooth. The optic is kind of where we started. The way the optic loggers work is you have either what we call a base station or a shuttle that you would attach to a laptop running our desktop software. That's how you would configure those loggers. And then you would go deploy them with whatever logging interval you've selected, leave them out there for a period of time, and then you would come back and collect them to offload onto that desktop software and manage that data and export it. These solutions are great because they're easy to use, they're affordable, and they're the tried and true and very rugged loggers that have been around for a long time. What we've started to do over the last decade or so is bring all of these parameters that we have for the optic communication over to a Bluetooth solution as well to have both of those options. What's great about Bluetooth is pretty much all of those great benefits you have with the optic loggers, you now have as a more streamlined process for configuration and data management with the Bluetooth line of loggers. So these ones are very similar. You would configure them, deploy them, come back at a later time and offload. But with these, you can do everything right through our free HOBO Connect app. And that app, what's great about it is you can do that right on site, whether it's through an iPhone, an Android, a tablet, or even a laptop that's running Bluetooth. It allows you to do everything right there, wirelessly. We build, one of the unique things about HOBO data loggers is we build our Bluetooth technology right into the data logger itself. So there's no attaching a dongle or any wired connection that you have to attach to it, which kind of exposes the logger to water and some of the environment. So we build that in there. It's still a self-contained unit. And so when you pull that up out of the water, it pops up on your smartphone and you're able to configure, deploy, and offload right from there. And that's a free HOBO Connect app that we have. The last option, which we'll talk a little bit more about today, is our cellular-based systems. And these have really come along over the years. Onset has a number of great affordable solutions for cellular communication, and that's going to keep you informed of what's going on at site at all times. So we'll touch on that and get pretty in depth into cellular communication. So today's topic of discussion is around stormwater management and really the HOBO products that tie in well with this application. Some of these areas that we look to monitor, like stormwater basins or infiltration chambers, culverts, stormwater pipes and drains, wetlands, the products that we provide can give you an idea into how these areas are functioning, or maybe they're put out there before for baseline information to understand how we need to restore the property and allow them to function properly. So those solutions that I typically find on the stormwater side is very much so water level. Sometimes we see water quality as well, and then also climate, such as rainfall, so that you can kind of correlate that data to our water level or flow. Flow is another one that comes up often. Depending on the setup in the system. If it's a culvert, you can get a good idea of how that's flowing through there, and how you kind of manage it. Is it eroding streams because of that fast flow? So there's a couple of great solutions that we have with HOBO. If there's other things that you can think of that you monitor on the stormwater side and you have data loggers for, feel free to throw them in the chat. I'd love to check those out as well. So we'll start by talking about some of our optical USB water level loggers, or our pressure transducers. We've had these two loggers for over a decade now. We started with the U20s that you can see over here. These are stainless steel and titanium loggers. And then we came out with the U20Ls, which is a polypropylene version, and it's good for both fresh and salt water. This is probably one of the most economical pressure transducers on the market. And with both of these loggers, they're both non-vented style loggers. So what's great about non-vented style is they're pretty maintenance free. They're very rugged. And what we do is we allow you to use another one of these same loggers with the right pressure rating to use for barometric pressure compensation. So if you had 5 different locations that you're monitoring water level and they're all in a given area, you can buy an additional one, a 6th one for barometric pressure, leave that out on the site, and our HOBOware software will correct for that baro and give you actual water level data. So they're rugged, they're easy to deploy, they're easy to move around. So if you go to a site and you're trying to get data in the inlet and the outlet, and you're not getting the data you want, and you need to go to a different location, they're very easy to move and recalibrate essentially for your reference level. Both of these loggers use that optical base station or data shuttle and our desktop software. And the logging intervals on these can be anywhere from 1 second to 18 hours. Each of these loggers too also include temperature measurements, which temperature measurements, although you may not see exactly how it applies to stormwater management, temperature could be good because you could see some backflow coming in, and you see those in the temperature changes as opposed to just kind of water level. If you're getting some weird water level data, maybe you can look at the temperature to see if there's some impact from an outside source, or things are backing up, for example. We also have a standalone rain gauge. So this is a rugged, pretty high quality tipping bucket. It's a standalone unit, so this can be deployed anywhere on the site as well. And it comes with our pendant data logger inside. So that data logger is pretty much counting how many tips on that bucket. I think it's about 0.01 inches per tip. And it's taking all of that information and storing it so that you can offload it later and look at that against your water level data. What's good about this pendant logger too is it's also recording temperature. So if you wanted to, you can see down here how it's mounted on a post. You have your rain gauge, and they've also taken this pendant logger, wired it outside of the actual bucket, put it in a solar radiation shield so that they can get ambient temp readings as well. This logger has a user replaceable battery. I think they typically last a year plus, and then you can just change them right in the field. This also, these pendant loggers also use the same base station and shuttle and HOBOware software, so everything can be done right on that program. Recently, at the end of last year, we came out with the MX20L, which this logger looks very similar to the U20Ls that you just saw because it's pretty much the same logger with Bluetooth built into it. So still rugged, still self-contained, but instead of having to use that shuttle or base station and connecting it to your desktop software, this can be all done through the free HOBO Connect Bluetooth app. And what I like about that is when you're using pressure transducers, you're doing a lot of, you're leaving them out there, you're coming back, you're putting field notes in to put your reference measurements, and then you're kind of coming back and doing that on your desktop. Now you can do that right on site. So when you're sitting there on site with your phone open and you can kind of see what the most recent reading is, you can enter your reference level or calibrate right there, and you have a corrected water level file that's ready to export right while you're on site. It's also great for troubleshooting as well. And we've increased a few things with this MX20L logger. It now has battery life up to 10 years and a ton more memory in it, giving you almost 400,000 or up to 400,000 measurements. This is still polypropylene, so the same housing as the U20L, good for both fresh and saltwater environments. And it's a great price. $399 for a pressure transducer is one of the best in the market. And those pressure transducers are great for, storm drains or areas that you can, storm drains, I guess, probably aren't the best one, but more like culverts and basins that you can access the data logger and pull them out. Those are good ones for that. They're easy to kind of move around. The next product that I want to talk about is another new one for our line. It came in 2024, is our MX800. And so some of the loggers that I've been showing you and some of what Onset's been known for is offering those standalone solutions, those single kind of parameters where it's giving you water level, or it's dissolved oxygen, or it's temperature only. We have a number of standalone solutions that are great. They're user friendly. They're cost effective because you're only doing single parameters, and they can fit a wide variety of applications. What we've done with this MX800 is really stick with those core values, but expand on those capabilities. So the MX800 not only does single parameters, so if you're looking at my screen, you can see right here, this is the data logger. It's that's the MX801. It has Bluetooth built into it. It has user replaceable AA batteries in there. And it also has a ton of memory to kind of store. And then you have 3 different sensor options. We have dissolved oxygen, which is right here. We have conductivity and temperature. And then we also have conductivity, temperature, and depth. So this solution, what's unique about it is that it's all interchangeable. You can buy this MX801 today for conductivity, and you can swap the sensor on it for dissolved oxygen tomorrow. You can add this 2 sensor adapter at any time and add 2 parameters to it. So you can always build off of it. And that's really kind of what the future of this platform is to continue to add sensors to it and allow for what we hope up to 4 sensors on one given MX801. So you'd have a 4 sensor adapter, and you would add some of those sensors onto it to make more of a multi-parameter type unit. Some of those future sensors that we plan for is PAR and turbidity. Those are on the immediate list. Turbidity I could see coming up in this style of application as well, especially when you're doing construction, restoration, or if there's sediment kind of from the flowing. A little bit more about the MX800 and what makes it unique. And one thing that I really want to point out for stormwater management purposes is the direct read style of this, which the direct read version that we have is a cabled version, which pretty much, whatever size custom cable you need for your site, you can take the data logger, you can leave it where it's accessible, where you can actually, get to it, and then you can run a cable down with your sensor into maybe the bottom of a storm drain. What's great about that solution is it's wireless offload. So you can just get within Bluetooth range of it, typically 100 feet line of sight, or maybe you're hovering right over the storm drain. You can get within range of it and offload that right on your phone without having to remove anything. So having that Bluetooth built in is great because you don't have to connect to it. This version, so there's 2 options. We have the MX801, which is this blue logger right here. And then we have the MX802, which is, it has barometric pressure built into it. So instead of having to buy a separate transducer for barometric pressure and doing your compensation, this has baro built into it so that you actually have corrected water level data without having to do any post correction. The other option here, and where I see it being applicable for stormwater management, is you can actually use this submersible MX801 version with a cable. So if you're worried about flooding, with this having barometric pressure built into it, if that was to flood, it's not ideal for the logger. You could run into issue. But what's so great about this platform is everything's interchangeable. You can go with this MX801, you can go with a cable down to your conductivity, temperature, and depth sensor, And if this floods, no problem. And then once it's not flooded, you can offload that data. So it's very versatile and also rugged solution for some of these applications. The logger comes with 4 AA batteries. They're user replaceable, and those will last up to 2 years depending on the sensor package that you have. And they have tons of memory as well, almost up to 1 million measurements. And you can see some of the prices down here and just how affordable this is for a water quality type logger that can do multiple parameters. You can see down here some of the options. When you buy this 2 sensor adapter to do 2 of those parameters, it's going to come with this housing, and then there's an optional biofouling guard depending on the application. So I'll touch now on the HOBO Connect app because we talked about some of those Bluetooth style products. What's great about the app, there's no cellular communication that's needed for it. It's strictly a connection between the device and your phone or tablet or laptop. So it's using that Bluetooth communication. So when you're out on a site, you don't have cell service, you can still get all your data. That's not a problem. I like to say it's like tying a Bluetooth speaker to your phone essentially. Everything can be configured right while you're on site in all of those custom logger settings. So, how often you want to log so that it tells you how long you can go for. Most of these have extended memory. So if you're going to log beyond 15 minutes, you could go years if you wanted. And also it has the option to do different logging modes like burst mode. If you care about, certain or certain thresholds, I guess, of where the water is located or the temperature of the water, you can put that into burst mode based on those alarms. And so what's also good about alarms is if you're looking at, let's just say, infiltration chambers, and you want to know when the water level has reached that chamber, and you want to see that in the data or spell it out in the data, you can put that alarm or that threshold in. And so when you go out and you go up to the logger and it populates on your app, you can see that it was in an excursion or a water level or temperature excursion that you've set. So that way you can really dive into the data and see it. You can also calibrate all of your equipment right on site. Again, just comes along with the app, doing everything on site. Everything's calibrated within minutes right on site. There's also a lot of data assistance built in for, post-processed water level data. We have a lot of water quality style measurements too. When you're doing conductivity and temperature, it'll give you a TDS reading or total dissolved solids. It'll give you salinity. So it'll do a bunch of different post post calculated measurements as well. You can quickly download everything while you're on site, and then you can export it right to CSV or an Excel file. You can also use a shared drive to send it to others as well. There's a question here, which I'm going to answer on the fly because it caught my attention. So the question is, these loggers come with biofouling systems to protect with bodies of water for like algae, for example. And as you can kind of see right here, this has that's a separate item that you can purchase, but it's a biofouling guard. And yes, that's to kind of protect against algae or some of the biofouling that comes along with some of those harsh environments. It really depends on where you're located. You're in an area like an estuary, as much copper around the sensors or around your housings as possible. I've heard of, copper tape, copper paint, anything that you can kind of do to protect and keep those sensors from having buildup around them. They are optical style sensors, or at least the dissolved oxygen is. So, if it's being covered by biofouling, that can impact readings. So now we'll switch gears a little bit and talk more about our cellular style, stations and ones that give you kind of real-time access wherever you are, wherever you're located. It's right through our cloud-based software that you can punch in on a web browser, and you can see that data live. We have a couple great affordable solutions. I'll talk more just about the RX 2100 today. This is a cellular station that can do both climate and water, which is somewhat unique in the industry. So this solution, very compact station. If you've seen, cellular based data logging stations, usually they're pretty big. There's a lot of inputs and outputs. Everything we do is pretty user friendly and plug and play. And so this station is, you'll see it in a couple pictures, but it's about the size of a small lunchbox. It has a built-in solar panel that's powering the rechargeable batteries on it. Those batteries will last up to 5 years. I've seen them go even beyond that. And those are user replaceable. Just a $45 replacement pack. You put it in there, and this continues to log. These have been out for, I believe, around 10 years now, and I've seen many that are continuing to use them. This station, so the fact that it can do climate and water, this houses up to 5 plug and play smart sensors. So we have a whole line of plug and play sensors, whether they're climate, soil, pulse input adapters, 4 to 20 milliamp inputs. And if you can see right here, there's these 5 blocks. Those are I forget the connection. They're like an Ethernet style jack that you can plug right in there. To handle any of those plug and play sensors. So you could add a rain gauge to this. You could add wind speed and direction, temperature, pulse inputs for flow meters. You can add that right into here. And then also you could do water level on this station as well as a separate unit. The station comes with a multi-carrier SIM installed. So what's great about the multi-carrier SIM is it's not looking for a specific carrier. So it does really well with communication. And as a climate station, this originally designed, we've built water level into this climate station. So as a climate station, it's extremely robust. It's meant to track harsh environments. So it's great for a water level solution as well, where in some cases you have water level stations that, whether they're built inside a well or in harsh environments, they're not totally suited to handle them. This is a weatherproof unit that can handle those harsh climates. We have cell plans for these stations. So it comes with the multi-carrier SIM, comes with the data storage. It's going to be in, our cloud-based software and our Amazon servers for up to 10 years. But it comes with a cell plan that's as low as $99 per year. So if you were going to do a single station with water level and rain gauge, it'd be $99 per year to get all that data real time, and everything that comes along with our cloud-based software, which I'll talk about shortly. The software is absolutely free. Your cost is really more the data storage. When you are doing water level, this station also has barometric pressure built in so that you are getting actual compensated water level data. You're not having to correct for that. And we do have flow calculation that's built into our software platform as well. And I'll have a slide on that. Everything, as I mentioned, is, it's compact, but it's also very user friendly. These are as simple as plugging in your power, pressing the cloud button, and it's pushing data right up to the cloud. Everything we do or a lot of what we have is plug and play. So it's already recognized sensors. You're not doing any scaling. It's very streamlined process to get these up and running. Here are some of the components that go along with this water level station, or when you're using the RX2100 for water level. You have the station. That's kind of the brains of everything. You have whatever size cable fits your application. It's all custom. You can go do deep groundwater wells. You can run that cable into a chamber. You can run it into a culvert, or you can do shallow wells as well for maybe a wetland. Then you have your pressure transducer that ties onto this cable. One of the unique things about our pressure sensors, they don't have batteries in them. So when you have to change batteries, this can all still be installed. So this is strictly a sensor, ties to the cable, and your power is done right through this RX2100 station. So the only batteries that ever need to be changed are here. You don't have to access this transducer, which makes it really convenient when when things do happen. And then we also offer this locking 2-inch well cap. It's good when you're deploying these. This is a 1-inch sensor, so it's good when you're deploying. If you're using conduit or PVC pipe, it's great to use this 2-inch cap. You can suspend the cable right from here so that it doesn't slip. And then also you can pull that disc out so that nothing falls inside. You can close it and lock that cap as well. Here's some pricing on the RX2104, just so you can get an idea of it. So again, you have the station, you have that $99 cell plan, and then you buy your transducer and your cable, and that's really it. You're getting real-time water level data for under $1,500, and everything that comes along with that cloud software. And per year, you're only paying $99. There's no real limit to options that you get with our cloud software based on price. All the benefits that come with our software are built into each kind of data plan. Here's just a couple pictures to get an example of what the station looks like in the field. So over on the left, you have an RX2104. This is just strictly doing water level. You can see they've run that cable right into this pond area or dam. This one right here is actually attached to a flume. So when we talk about flow calculations, you're going to be able to punch in your uh, your dimensions here so that you can actually get a flow calculation out of this. So it's doing flow and water level. And then this setup has a little bit more. It's doing water level. You have a rain gauge, a little bit bigger solar panel. You're doing surface temp. So there's a number of things you can do from that station. Now we'll jump into the niche product that I talked about, or the product line that we talked about, which is the HoboNet wireless sensor network. So when you have a significant amount of areas, maybe you want to do the inlet, you want to do the outlet, maybe you're doing a wetland area and you're trying to map the hydrology of the wetland because you're getting puddling in one area but not the other. You might need to do restoration. HoboNet is a great way to scale your site affordably, and that's the big driver with HoboNet is you can do that affordably because what it does is utilize radio communication in these moats to talk back through each other and create this network of sensors back to a cellular hub. So instead of paying, for cellular on each individual monitoring point or buying a cellular station for each individual monitoring point, you're only buying it once, and then you're buying all the sensors that go along with this network to tie back to that station. So to touch a little bit more about the technology, each one of those motes has 900 megahertz. It has a radio antenna in it utilizing 900 megahertz. And so it's a self-forming and kind of self-healing network. So it's constantly adjusting to its best conditions. If you think about a wetland, things grow in over time. It might take a different path back. It's always looking for its best path back to that station. And I'll show you some examples to give you a better picture of what that looks like. But again, talking about scale, you can connect up to 50 wireless sensors to one cellular station. And we have a whole suite of wireless sensors that we'll talk about. It just makes it really a easy way to kind of scale that. Everything, as I mentioned, is user friendly. So if you want to connect one of these wireless sensors to it, it's as simple as holding the red button down for 3 seconds. They pair to each other and they're tied for life. Talk a little bit about the benefits, and you can see here one of the biggest benefits is the size. So if you can see the size right there, it's about the size of a cell phone. Also has a built-in solar panel. It utilizes these two AA rechargeable batteries. You can see the little digital display so that, again, you can see what's going on. It gives you battery life. It gives you signal as well. So when you're on site and troubleshooting things, all of that can be seen right online because this all ties to our cloud software anyways. But nice compact design, easy to use, easy to change batteries, and those batteries will last up to 5 years. These do really well with limited sunlight as well. They do well in some canopy areas. It's a small solar panel, but this is all low powered equipment. Again, the big driver, just to point to that, is there's no annual fee associated with these motes. So each individual monitoring point does not have a cell plan associated with it, and these motes are much more affordable. They're a much more affordable option than going with a single station for each. We have plans. So the cell plans start at 99, and those plans that range from 99 to 399 are based on how many sensors you have for a network. So at the very high end, if you have 50 wireless sensors attached to a station, you're paying $350 per year for that. So that's it. If you think about all the time you spend on a site, going out, collecting data, offloading them, managing it, correcting for water level, all of those things that you would do. This is all real time, ready to export, streamlined, post processed, and all for $350 per site. Here are a couple options that are part of that network. So you have, as you can see, a bunch of climate options: temp RH, solar radiation and PAR, wind speed direction. Rain gauges are very common on these sites. We have pulse inputs. You can do things like flow meters. You could attach them to other rain buckets. We have a whole line of soil moisture sensors. And then a couple of years ago, we came out with water level because it's perfect to tie into this application, especially for wetlands, hydrology, stormwater management, earth and dams for dam safety, areas where you have a number of wells or a significant amount of wells and you want to tie them all back to a single station. And we just actually released our new analog mote. And so this unit's a little bit bigger. it actually is the exact same housing as the RX 2100 station that you saw. The reason it's larger is because it is an analog moat, so it allows for third-party sensors. So if you wanted to tie a water quality sensor into there, or and other options, turbidity, things that you want to tie into this station will actually give it power, the excitation power that that sensor needs to power it up, and then it can scale right into our software. Here's a couple examples of what that network looks like. So this is actually taken from our Google Maps feature. So if you can see, so this is a site that's, for stormwater management. There was some restoration work done here. You could see the stations right over here that has a rain gauge attached to it. It also has temperature. And then these are two water level setups. So two individual wireless water level setups. You can see that path that they're taking back to the station. That's all done right through the Google Maps feature. You drop these points in, and then it'll show you how the network's functioning. What's good about that Google Maps is when you click on these different locations, it's actually going to populate what the most recent reading is as well. And then if you look over here, this is a much larger site. This is a wetland site. And you can the reason I pull this one up is just so you can see how the network functions. So you can see some of these water level wells going through each other, talking back to that main station. I didn't actually touch on it, but when it comes to distance, what you can do is you could take a station, and with the 900 megahertz radio, you can put another sensor up to 2,000 feet from that in each direction. You can go another 2,000 feet off of that. You can hop up to 5 times. So again, main station, you can go 2,000 feet to a sensor, 2,000 feet off of that sensor. So you can really spread the range with this type of network. And it depends on what's in the way. If there's if it's a forested application, it might not go as far as 2,000 feet, but it doesn't mean it's totally going to block it. So there's in the best case scenario, I've seen an agriculture site that's wide open with 50 wireless sensors covering 9 square miles. So you can get some serious range on there. And for some of these stormwater management applications where you want to kind of track, where the hydrology is happening or where things are flowing, you're in the inlet, you're in the outlet, or even some of those wetlands, you'd be able to do that with this system pretty affordably. So now I'll dive into the actual cloud-based software and just, what really comes along with those, that RX 2100 station and HoboNet. We have all these great options. And again, there's no cost associated with the software. So you're going to get real-time data. You're going to get those customized dashboards. You're going to have a Google Maps feature. There's alerts, whether it's text message or email for both system and sensors. And I'm going to go kind of through each individual one so that you can kind of see what these look like and what the screenshots look like. You can do exports. You could create automatic exports. You can integrate into third-party software. I know there's a lot of software that's specific to the style of application or type of application, and so we give enough for what most people need. But if there's something that you're looking to do that's more specific to your application and there's a software that works for you, you can take our API and kind of dump it into that platform. We have public URL options for the dashboard sharing. And then because there's no cost associated with the software, you can add users, whether they work with you as a colleague, or maybe it's the public that you want to share some sort of access with. There's all different options. Maybe you want to share it with a government agency for, whether it's permitting or compliance purposes. So we'll start with user roles. So this is kind of where you're sharing that access, right? So there's multiple types, as you can see. There's an account owner, there's an account admin, there's a device admin, and a device viewer. And I'll give an example. If maybe the public is listed as a device viewer because you don't want them to be able to make adjustments or calibrations or change anything in the system, they can go in and all they can do is see information. They can't change anything. There's a device admin option, which is more for maybe colleagues, where you can add a colleague. They can make changes. They can go out. They can troubleshoot. They can add and create dashboards. They can do exports. That's the device admin. Then you have the account admin, which is good for, if they want to pay that annual cellular fee every year or kind of oversee this account. when you click into, or when you're in the cloud-based software, the first thing that you can do is click on your device, and it's going to bring you to really the hub of that station. And so you click on it, it's going to give you a summary. Is it currently logging? When's the next connection? When's its next cloud connection coming up to the cloud? Has there been any of the latest alarms? It'll give you a briefing on that. It gives you battery life on here as well. And if you scroll down, it'll actually give you a tile view of all the different sensors that you can click on and see what the last 10 days of data was for that specific sensor. And then it will also, any of those wireless sensor networks, it will give you the health of those sensors too. When you're doing configuration, so again, everything can be done off-site. So if you're doing reference water level, for example, let's say you're monitoring a wetland, and you don't really care where the water level is in relation to the transducer, you care where it is in relation to the ground surface. You can enter that reference level right in here, the date and time in which you took that measurement, and then it will kind of correct it for you, give you an actual water level reading that makes sense to your site. Maybe you use real elevation, for example. All that can be input, and now you're getting water level data that's already corrected, and it means something in the system. We also have right here, you can see this is the option for the flow calculation. So it's not a flow meter, it's using water level data to provide a calculated flow reading so that you don't have to post-process that data. And this is what it would look like if you were doing a V-notch wear, but we also have all of these different options of rectangular wear, trapezoidal wear, a general flume, and then we also have the option for a stage discharge table so that you can input up to 20 different plots on that table and use that as well if maybe you have a rating curve that you've built on a site, for example. Alarms are a huge thing that come along with this platform, especially when it comes to stormwater management and flooding. Keeping you informed or alerting you of when things are happening on site is essential. And so there's no limit to the amount of alarms you can receive and how many people can receive them. So we give you unlimited text message and email alerts to any number of devices. And you might scale that, right? So you might say when the water level gets to 5 feet, I want Joe to get an email, but when the water level gets to 10 feet, I want Tammy and Joe to get an email. And that way, because they really need to kind of manage or run out to the site and address things. So there's no limit to those, and there's both sensors on the station side and the sensor side. So this on the station side, that's if my station has missed a cell connection, if a wireless sensor is not reporting back, if a rain gauge is offline, or if the battery is low on one of the devices, you'll get alarms for that as well. Everything can be exported right through Lightcore Cloud. So it's all, as I mentioned, it's all storing data inside the cloud for up to 10 years. Another thing that I'll mention is the stations themselves and the sensors themselves all store data. So if it does miss a cell connection, it still will push that data when it's back online. So they're meant to be, to have that backup storage, and they'll continue to wrap data over an extended period of time. Those stations have, I think, will allow up to 1 million measurements. So if you think about logging every 15 to 30 minutes, that's years worth of data that it's just storing and pushing to the cloud and having as a backup. But when it is all here, you can export that data. You just go in, you create your own export. You want to see water levels, you can even schedule it. So this is what it looks like when you pull it out. I want, water levels from all these different sensors. I'm going to save that down so I don't have to recreate that export. And then I'm going to schedule it. I want to see the last 30 days of data. I want it emailed to me in an Excel file every month. You can set that up and it will do it. You can actually have it go to an FTP site as well. And then beyond that, if you wanted to use your own software, you can just use our API to dump that data. Dashboards also come built in with this cloud-based software. So you can do a number of different things. You can add all these different unique widgets. It's all customized to kind of your liking. With the dashboards, there's no limit to how many you can make. And if you have a number of different sites, you can put them all on one dashboard. You can put them on different dashboards. You can even take sensors from one station and overlap them on the same graph as sensors from another station. So it's pretty customizable, and you can add all these different widgets here. You can also share that as a public URL. So we talked about, user credentials and having those user credentials, and allowing, the public to see them. This is a better version to allow the public to only see a dashboard that maybe you created only for them. So maybe you have a lot more information on a dashboard that you have, but you don't want to scare the public, so you give them a dashboard that's more suited to what, their needs are, what they want to see. It gives you data up to a year, and you can go back and look at, an absolute time frame. You can look December to May. You can do a relative time frame like the last month or the last year. And then also it will give you, what you can do is like a latest measurements or the latest reading, and that will give you insight into the most recent reading for all your different sensors. I'll stay on dashboards for a moment just so you can get an idea of what it looks like. So with some of these that are more applicable to water level and rain for stormwater management, you can kind of see these, you can overlap like a rainfall bar graph with a water level line graph. So you can see the elevation right here is your water level, and then you can see the rain in inches. They have it logging maybe every 5 minutes, so that's kind of why you see these bars. But you can see how this water level has reacted to these rainfall events, and you can do that right through the software. You can add them right on the dashboard, and you could do this for multiple. If you wanted to add multiple of those wireless sensors, you can overlap them on the same rain gauge so that you can see that. Another cool option here is when you're doing like a gauge, for example. This comes up with kind of dam safety from time to time, but I could also see this with some of these infiltration chambers where you're kind of worried about the water level if it gets to a certain point. Maybe it's in a culvert too. You can scale, based on colors. You can make a gauge and do a min and max and color code it based on that. So obviously red is kind of high alert, and you can track that and see it kind of real time right through the dashboard. And here's your most recent measurement kind of widget here. And that is actually right on the dot of 2 minutes or 2:45. So I'm going to stop it right there. For the sake of time, Brett, is there a couple questions that you wanted to spell out for or shoot off to me?
Sure. Yeah. Hey, thanks, Andrew, for the presentation. It was fantastic. Answered most of these on the chat here, but I did want to bring up a couple of them because they come up often. So
Okay.
The number one, maybe you can touch on real quick, because this question does come up all the time, is does Bluetooth signal travel through water?
Yeah, great question. Bluetooth does not travel through water, which I'm going to pull this back up because that's one of the reasons why I find the MX800 to be such a great option here for storm drains. This option that's a fully submersible unit, you'd have to pull it up out of the water to offload on your phone. But if you're using a direct read version or a cabled version, this would be kept out of the water, or whether it's flood prone or not. That's why we have the MX801. And when it is out of the water, you can go and kind of collect that data.
Very good. Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, it comes up a lot. One other question is, what happens to the data loggers when there is no water, when it dries out?
Sure. Yeah. So everything that we talked about today, not a problem. Usually you look at water quality sensors having an issue with that, but conductivity is fine. Dissolved oxygen is fine. If it's doing that for significant periods of time, they may need a recal or a calibration. But what's good is you can do it right through the app on site. One of the we do have a standalone Bluetooth pH logger, and with the glass electrode on that pH logger, that is one that you can run into some issue if that goes dry, and you'd run into issue pretty quickly with that one. So what we talked about today, water level, conductivity, DOs in here as well, those will not have issue with going dry.
Oh,
it won't damage anything, at least.
Gotcha. Can these be used for wastewater applications, what we've discussed today?
Yeah, that's a good question. So they can, and so it depends on how you deploy them. When you want to put a pressure transducer for wastewater applications, you want to protect it. You want to put it in some sort of PVC housing. I like to say like slotted PVC pipe, so that you're not going to clog the sensor in the sensor face. So it really comes down to what kind of wastewater are we talking about, what's going to be in that water, and then you kind of outfit, and that's something you should do anyways all the time, is protect these with some sort of housing. And when it comes to wastewater, even more so, like slotted PVC is a good option for that, to really filter out any of the big stuff.
Awesome. I have one question here that just came in. They're doing river monitoring in the UK. They're doing the dissolved oxygen, temperature, pH, turbidity, and ammonia. Is there any scope or plans for HOBO and Lycor to come out with more parameters?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll stay right here on this page. That I could see that happening with the MX800 platform. We're also, we came out with on the RX station side, when we talked about HoboNet wireless sensors, we just came out with the HoboNet analog mode, and that's to take in some third-party sensors. So there's ones that we have like pH, conductivity, dissolved oxygen, but for ones that we don't, like turbidity and ammonia, we plan to offer, or at least have an option for you to tie in those types of sensors into our system. So you'll start to see some third-party options maybe on our website, or at least kind of spelled out for which ones are compatible with our solution. If not, we also do plan to come out with a lot of these ourselves.
Very good. We'll continue to, if you're on our mailing list, we'll tend to give you some announcements of the new products that are going to be coming out and are in development. So, well, Andrew, thank you so much. That was most of the questions we had for today.
Awesome. Thanks, Brett. Thanks, everyone, for joining. We will follow up if we missed anyone, and you'll also get a recording of this presentation. So have a great day. Have a great rest of your week.